What's up, it's Peanut? How's everybody doing today? I was going through my collection today of double barrels, and you've seen this one before. This is my Ranger. I believe it's a Sears 30-inch barrels. This was one that someone had carved their initials or stamped their initials into the stock. And I got that all repaired, sanded down, the stain matched, and some lacquer on both sides to even it up. Anyway, I noticed that the triggers, or at least the lead trigger, is pretty loose. I don't know if you can see that in the picture. Back one's loose too. Now, it didn't bother me at first because it worked, and the more pressing issue was fixing the stock. But now, it kind of bothers me. Why does it bother me? Because I can fix it. I'm going to tear right in, and I'm going to tear the stock off and see what the issue is. Okay, so I got my triggers torn out. There are two triggers that ride on a pin with a washer, thick kind of washer in between them, and that's all they are. This washer has a flat spot on it, which here keeps sliding. And it's about that thick. So, I don't know what to do. If I could find a small washer that size and cut a flat spot into it, that's probably all it would take. If I could find a thick hunk of steel, just a little thicker than that, I'll have to measure it, drill a hole through it, cut a flat spot on it, I can make a bigger washer. Probably be my best bet is to just find another smaller washer. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Cut a flat spot on it, put it back together, call her good. This is a gun I'll probably only shoot 10 times the rest of my life, you know what I mean? So it's just a collectible. But I'm going to try to take off some of that trigger slop, so we'll get back to you with what I figured out. Okay, I found what I wanted. A little nylon washer. That'll give it some give and some play, and I'll be able to cut it down easy. Ever since I was a kid, I tear stuff apart. I think a lot of people do that, you know, people like us. But when I tear it apart, I keep all the nuts and bolts and screws. So I got, one time I bought a really big tackle box with all the little compartments in them, and I would organize my screws, my machine screws, pan head screws, you name it, carriage bolts, tiny ones, little metrics, little SAEs, washers, lock washers. I keep them all separated, so when it comes time to finding something like this, I can find it pretty quick because all those years of saving and organizing. Anyway, I'm going to cut this down, put it back together, and see how it works. Alright, so welcome back. I did some work to this. I kind of opened up a can of worms. My automatic safety was working. The more I played with it, the more it stopped working. And that's a deal breaker with me. It's got to work. The safety's got to work, or I got to fix it. Or it's not a keeper. I got to have the automatic safety. Now, I did some work to it. It still doesn't go back to where it audibly clicks, but it goes back far enough to where it works. And that's way it was when I got it. The triggers I had tightened up. I couldn't use a washer; it was too thick. There was just a little bit of play in there. from the triggers wearing from all the years of use. So I cleaned them up a little bit, and I just put on one side of the hole just a little bit of super glue, and then on the other trigger just a little bit of super glue. I let it dry. It dried real thin, and then I had a heck of a time trying to get it back together. There was 3 pieces, 2 triggers, and then that bushing in the center, like washer type bushing. But I got it back together, and it works. The triggers are just a little bit tighter. Is it a permanent fix? Permanent enough. I mean, this isn't a gun that I'm going to shoot every day. This is just more of a collectible. But for me to have a collectible, I don't want a wall hanger. I don't want something that doesn't work. It's got to work, and it works now. The safety, I had to do a little bit of bending. There's a little lever in there that everything's just worn. And when you cock it, when you hit the release lever, it wouldn't push it back far enough to be on safety. So there's a little lever in there I had to bend just a little bit so it would push the safety knob forward, or the safety pin forward, to stop the triggers. And it works now. It doesn't go far enough where you hear the audible click, but it works. So there's no, the safety's working. When I cock it, the triggers don't move. You can still hear. Oh, now it's all the way back. What'd I do? See, the safety's working, but listen. Still has just a little bit farther to travel, but it's working. There's nothing I can do aside from making the rod a little bit longer. I could bend that arm a little bit more, but then it wouldn't come off safety as easy. It's hard to explain, and it's hard to show on video, but my amateur opinion is leave it alone. It ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what I'm going to do. Super glue works sometimes just to build up a little bit of space, especially on something that doesn't get a lot of pressure or use. It's one of the tricks in my arsenals, and it worked today on the triggers. It tightened them up a little bit, or a lot of bit. But if I had to do it over again, I would have just left it alone. I had a lot of trouble putting them back together, and to get the pin through it. And you know, I got my punch set, my punch pin set, and I used them quite a bit. But I got it back together. That's the main thing, and it's working. It's better than it was a little bit, and we're just going to put it back in the gun rack and leave it alone this time. And as always, thanks for watching.